So I'm not opening a stubby or a can. Not a stubby, but I'm not opening a can of beer. Mmm, sparkling mineral water, delicious. All in all, we're just another brick in that wall. I did my first live. I'm just taking my jacket off. I can't drive in jackets. Can't handle. Hey, g'day. G'day, hey, g'day. Hey, Samantha. It's Bristol, LA. I was excited because I did my first drive live on this channel this morning. And of course, we've had big news today with the arrest and murder charges of that horrible Leilani Simon. Um, Big news always breaks when I'm at work, I've found, in my experience. Even in Australia. So this is a driving home live on the Smooth Criminal podcast channel. Bit exciting. Lindy Lou, hello. This is fun. I'm just curious to see who even has subscribed to this channel and comes in. It's all new and fresh and exciting. The hub of my trip. Hey, Francesca. Oh, it wasn't a surprise, Samantha. They clearly needed to get evidence, though, of his remains so the charges would stick, you know. Yeah, the getting drunk thing. Don't forget to yell at me in caps too, Groovers, because I need all the help I can get. So windy here today. I went out at lunchtime briefly just to grab a coffee. I actually took my own lunch to work, but the wind, like I had a scarf on and it blew, like the scarf, which was wrapped around my neck, it unraveled it. So I grabbed one end of the scarf and blew it like behind my head and then blew it around the front and then lifted the whole thing off my neck. Oh, I was letting that car in, but he don't care. Yeah, I'm not really into the kid cases either. In fact, even as a criminal defence lawyer, luckily, I didn't have to deal with any cases of that nature, but I was appointed as a separate representative, which is a term used in Australia for lawyers who are appointed by the courts to essentially represent children in cases, usually like CPS, things like that, and to actually take the child's instructions and present those instructions that were relevant, because obviously if I took instructions from a 1-year-old, their instructions weren't possibly going to be relevant. I know, it is so sad, poor little fella. It's horrible. I mean, we already knew, unfortunately, that this was the likely outcome, but I'm really relieved for the people who've been ploughing through, what was it, 32 tonnes of rubbish, trying to find Quinton's remains. I'm glad that search is over for them, as horrific as it must be when they actually find what they're looking for. But yeah, so I used to represent kids in court, and it was great fun. I mean, most of my clients were too young. Their instructions were nonsensical baby noises, you know, but occasionally I'd get a kid that was old enough to give their version of events so I could present that to the court on their behalf. It was really great, actually. And I had the court, like the legislation provided 30 minutes consult with a lawyer to any minor involved in any court case, whether they were able to give instructions or they were a 3-month-old baby. So I often found myself sitting in a meeting room at the courthouse like with a little baby, just hanging out with them for half an hour because they were entitled to that time to give their instructions. I mean, when they were really small, their mum or dad or sibling or whoever was with them would sit in with them, and we just kind of hang out for half an hour. I feel the same way, cement shoes. Oh, Heels in the Air. Isn't she fantastic? I'm glad you checked her out. Unless you're talking about another one, Heels Up. But if you mean Heels in the Air, she is a laugh. We do need laughs. We're spreading the laughs. But yeah, I reference her a lot because that's where I get a lot of my info from. And that was actually the reason I wanted to talk about Quinton Simon. I mean, may the poor little guy rest in peace. I hope that, you know, he's given the appropriate send-off that he deserves. What a horrific thing. But the reason I'm live about it, as relieved as I am as his mother is now charged with his murder and locked away, and the fact that they found his remains, which were not, that wasn't confirmed when I checked in at lunchtime. Not on YouTube. I checked in like news services in the States, but knowing the way prosecutors work, like, it's unlikely they would have charged her until they found the remains, because you don't want to fuck up a prosecution and let these assholes walk free and then that's it, you know, one strike you're out. I will try to look at chat. It won't be a really crawly drive out. There might be a few moments I can glance down, but I am really sorry for that I can't engage a bit more. But I have ordered some dinner that I'm picking up on the way home because I just don't feel like cooking. I had a very busy day. Everyone was off work sick today except for my boss and me. Oh, no, one of my co-workers, well, two of my co-workers worked this morning even though they were sick. One of them remotely, thank God. But by lunchtime, they were both absolutely written off and unwell, which, you know, I don't know why they do it. You don't get a gold medal for working when you're sick. No, you're not a dumbass. I love ya. You're a 67 baby. We're hilarious. I don't know that case, Evelyn Boswell. But yeah, I was very fortunate when I was a criminal defence lawyer that I didn't have to represent anyone who murdered a child, because that would have been horrific. It's funny how I guess you sort of do a few cases and then you kind of get a reputation for being good in that area. And so I don't know, but yeah, I was really fortunate because you can't say no to a client except in two situations. Like, you take an oath when you become a lawyer to give people the best representation possible. Everyone's entitled to that. And I could only say no to a client if there was a conflict, like I was already acting for, not always the other side, obviously with criminal, like I wouldn't be acting for the other side because the Crown would be doing that, or the prosecution, police prosecution, the DPP. But, yeah, we had to have a conflict, like we'd already acted for somebody or was still acting for someone connected to them, but essentially technically on the other side of something. And conflict includes things like family members and stuff like that. Or if they said, well, I'm going to tell you that I did it, but I want you to run a not guilty trial for me, we'd be like, no, you can't do. You need to get someone else now, you idiot. Idiot. But other than that, you had to act for them, you had to represent them, and you had to do your very best to defend them. So when people used to ask me all the time, how can you act for scumbags? It's like, because I believe in justice and people are entitled to a fair trial, and there's enough historical evidence of a shitload of people the world over who got locked up for crimes they didn't commit. And I have to take it at face value that, there are innocent people that need my help, but also lawyers advise their clients as you go along. Just because someone rocks up and goes, oh, I've been charged with X and I'm pleading not guilty, I want it to go to trial, you advise them as it goes along, and you often get a barrister's opinion as well. And sometimes your advice is, this isn't looking good for you at all. They're going to get a conviction. So let's start talking plea deals and see if we can help you there. It's not just a given when a client comes to you and they say they want to plead not guilty that that's what you have to do. Our job is to advise them on all the evidence and look at all of the question them and cross-examine them and essentially try to build some sort of case and look at the other side too and think of all the things they're going to be presenting. And then we advise the client on, what their likelihood of success is, what our costs are going to be if we do take it to trial, all of that sort of stuff. And sometimes, unfortunately, we have to say, this is looking bad for you. And, you can sack a client as well if they refuse to take your advice over and over and over again. You can't just rock up and go, they didn't listen to this bit of advice, I want to get rid of them. But if there's a pattern of them ignoring your advice, you can sack them as well. You can also get rid of them if they're not paying legal fees. But at the start, you have to say yes, except for those exceptions I mentioned earlier. Well, I've silenced chat. Everyone's going, this is riveting shit. This is Tori who's just left work as a lawyer. I'm in my lawyer headspace right now. Must be fascinating. Not. But what I did want to know was if anyone has been flitting around the YouTubes today, did any of you stumble across any, you're listening? Good, eh? So I don't know whether StreamYard freezes or not, because it does freeze sometimes, so it's easier just to say, Bueller? Is there anybody there? No, but I can see even with my peripheral vision if chat moves or not without reading it. Although the text box is tiny, like it's something, someone just said something then. It's like a little flicker in the distance. Very skilled, cement shoes. Don't underestimate my peripheral vision. I can read the screen now. It's fascinating. Oh, cool. Maybe I should do a live. I'd do a Q&A, but we'll probably get to like question 12 and I'll be like, I've got no fucking idea. Because that's the other thing. Lawyers end up being very specialised in the areas they practice in. And I went to a litigation conference on Friday. And the job that I do now, we don't litigate. We're not funded to take matters to tribunals or courts. We actually brief. We don't even brief. We refer our clients to expert lawyers who then may brief counsel as well. But I haven't done it. I haven't handled a litigation file for years. Not since I was practicing back in the late 90s, early noughties. So sitting in that conference the other day, the first half of the day, the sessions were quite lighthearted and I knew what the hell they were talking about. But in the afternoon, we had like a Supreme Court judge from South Australia and a barrister from New South Wales. And they were the driest people imaginable, as academics usually are, and academic lawyers are the ones that end up being judges and magistrates and barristers, essentially. Um, and it was heavy as fuck, the stuff they were talking about. And half of it was like they might as well have been speaking in bloody Latin because I had no fucking idea what they were talking about. Deb Tuttle is in chat, apparently. Oh, you like hearing the law stuff too. It's really such a boring profession compared to how it's portrayed on TV. Like TV series about law and lawyers there's always this sort of sexy element to it, like, you know, G'day Harvey in Suits. Back in the Ally McBeal days, Law and Order. You know, the courtroom drama is pretty captivating, but it's not that glamorous. I got a rude shock. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are lawyers with fabulous personalities that can make courtroom antics entertaining, that's for sure. And if you witness a gun lawyer who's, like, brilliant at cross-examination and just shredding the other side, that can be fun to watch too. But a lot of lawyers are academics. They're book nerds. They're very monotone and they go on and on and on and on. Like these snoozers, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're both highly acclaimed, and I shouldn't call a Supreme Court judge a snoozer, but they were just so, you know, they had semi-boners talking about law. It's their thing. It excites them, but they didn't deliver their excitement in an exciting way. It was exhausting. Oh, rake, yes. Animal, rake as well. 2 votes for rake. What's the I've watched one episode out of curiosity. What's the American show, or is it English? No, it's American, I think. There's a show that's sort of like, it's not a direct rip-off of Rake, but it kind of is. But then it could be argued that Rake was a bit of a spin-off of Californication, if you think about it. Richard Roxburgh, what a hottie. And I don't like blonde men, but he's hot. Law in Tassie. Hey, Deb has had, I'm slowing down right now so I'm able to read. Exciting charters. You're talking about boats again, Deb. Do you mean cases or chapters? Law in Tassie has had some exciting charters over the years. Tassie's got some great cases that I definitely would like to talk about. And maybe it is interesting for people outside of Australia. I mean, fuck knows, we know a lot about American cases, and not just American. I know a lot about Irish cases and English cases as well, Canadian, a little bit of South American, not a lot of South American. Richard is definitely sexy. He's so good as Rake too. I didn't see who said they could have pursued law, but they got ill and didn't make it to college. Look, our characters, yes. Well, my dad was one of them. I used to love watching Dad in court. I preferred watching Dad in court to Dad in Parliament, actually. I mean, he was great in Parliament too, but he was even better in court. Like, you have to be so well behaved because the reasoning behind judiciary and lawyers wearing wigs and gowns in the Westminster system, which is what Australia adopted from the UK, is to dumb down your personality and make everyone look the same. That's the whole point of it. It's to make everyone look the same. So, I mean, I discovered very early on, like before I was admitted and I didn't wear a wig, but I was a judge's associate, I used to wear like really bright earrings or scrunchies. It was 1992, right? I've got a scrunchie in today, but the ones in the 90s, early 90s, were pretty garish and loud. That was my cheeky way. Or shoes, like, because your shoes would be poking out the bottom. I used to always have really groovy shoes. I found ways to get my personality out there while still looking like everybody else. But I also used to crack jokes, and I mean, I left law to go into stand-up comedy because I liked convincing my audience, and the juries just weren't big enough audiences for me, I think. Because being a good lawyer, just like being a good comedian, it's all about being persuasive. It's the same job. Just comedians have bigger audiences. I got booted out of court on many an occasion for cracking jokes. But my dad, it was a force to be reckoned with, even outside the courtroom, and much loved character of Tassie. And Deb can vouch for me when I talk about him. It's not me talking him up, because he was also a friggin' nightmare a lot of the time. But must be something to do with men with the name Michael, Deb. But he used to get the jury in the palm of his hand right at the start. Like, he'd walk in and the prosecutor would be in there with his junior, who's now a Supreme Court judge here. And Dad had this very booming, bombastic voice. And he'd walk into the courtroom and he'd go, and the jury would be brought in. And he would greet the prosecutor and his aide and say, greetings to the Prince of Darkness and Tinkerbell. They were his nicknames, and the jury instantly thought he was a hoot. I learned that from him. If you can endear yourself to a jury when you're a defence lawyer, yeah, you're on your way. Think how different the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial would have been if Elaine had endeared herself. I still think Johnny would have ended up the winner, but it would have been, although no, Elaine's lack of endearment was actually what made her so entertaining to watch. You were second that he was best in court. I think my car needs a service. It's sounding like a lawnmower. Well, it's actually no. It's sounding like it's a beefier car than it is. It sounds like a truck or a ute. I think it needs some tweaking. Better book it in before the Christmas chaos kicks in. Oh, imagine Dad and Johnny Depp. I know, especially as Depp's lawyer. Can you imagine him with Camille? Crikey. I mean, when Dad became a QC, his junior counsel stuck with him for years, decades even. Well, not decades, but years. Like, he was a fabulous mentor. And they learned a lot from him. And they learned too that, you know, a bit of personality goes a long way in a courtroom. But you've got to be clever in how you do it. Dad pushed the boundaries all the time, as you know, Deb. I was a bit more cautious. But I did dip my toes in being a bit cheeky from time to time. And it worked in my favour a lot, and my client's favour. You will never see my eyes again. Oh, bless Elaine. God, I miss that. I miss getting up in the middle of the night to go live for hours watching that trial with you groovers. It was funny as. Gosh, we had fun. I mean, I know the masses were flocking into like Emily D. Baker and other channels, but I mean, our chat was, we had a good audience, a good solid crowd of about 30 each night, and people would come and go, like people would go to bed and then they'd come back and we'd still be live, and we'd have mega pint breaks, but our chat, you could follow it and you could chat with everyone, and there were just epic one-liners as always. I love that about this channel, this community. We can always have a chuckle. Oh, but I still haven't asked my question. When the news about Leilani Simon's arrest broke, can someone tell me if the Tragedy Pimps, and what was the term you used this morning, cement shoes? I want to start using that. It wasn't douche lords, even though that applies too. Were they live within seconds taking credit for it and saying it was because of them? Because everybody knows it was because they found his remains, sadly. Oh, yeah. Now with you and, I think it was it Humanimal? There were two of you. They were coming up with brilliant lines. I lost it that day. That was funny. Gore crows. Yeah. I've got to go back through the chat from this morning anyway to get the list of gore crows you want me to highlight on this channel when we look at the misunderstood empaths of YouTube. Thank you again to Ikuda for coming up with that title. See, we're a collaborative community. We all pitch in and help each other out. I like that too. But yeah, with the Gore Crows live saying, the arrest happened because of us. Oh, I'm 3 minutes early for my pickup time. I might just do a blocky. I'll do a little blocky. I can't be bothered cooking. We go to the river and the river was there. Oh my God, it was so funny. You're bringing back great memories. I need to revisit that, the highlight reel. I lost it. Oh, we've had some laughs. We've had some good laughs. I mean, it doesn't help when I go into a blue funk because someone I love dies. I don't normally go into a blue funk. It really knocked me around. Okay, I'm glad I've come out of the blue funk. Victoria Evans. My dad involved in Chopper's case. And only partial remains. You're talking about little Quinton. This is going to be really brutal, unfortunately, but they only need a remain. If it matches, it's enough, sadly. Because we don't know what intel they had that, got them digging out at that, what we call them dumps in Australia, landfill tips. But yeah, they just need something to match, and that's enough. But yeah, Dad, she has a 2-hour-long documentary on Israel Keys, unbelievably good. Awesome. All right, and being called Victoria, she's got to be fabulous, right? Let me just go and grab my dinner, and we can hit the road. Yeah, Dad acting for Chopper is pretty funny. And the classic photo of my unflappable father who could never be flapped. I shouldn't say flap. Looking legitimately terrified. standing next to Chopper at Chopper's wedding as best man. I'll be back, Groovers. Give me a moment. Oh, there's still people in here. Also, Victoria, that Victoria chick's also done something on the Idaho 4. Now I'm just going to do another pit stop since I'm near smokes and guns. I'm about to quit smoking. Thank God, but just not yet. My friend Nick just messaged me, my smoking quit buddy, my quit buddy, has just messaged to say he's quit. And I'm like, we had a date that we were going to stick together from, but he'll be a good buddy because he's going to be a couple of days ahead of me. Oh, I got pasta from Ciao Ragazzi, Deb. The I'm reluctant to say it actually because it's so politically incorrect to have what I'm having these days, but especially in Tasmania. Come on, mate. Smokes and guns are about to shut. Hurry up. Accelerate, for fuck's sake. Jesus crikey. Jesus crikey. Just got to go and buy a gun. I won't be long, guys. Thanks, Menchos. Not happening just yet, but it will be happen. It will happen. How am I going to quit? I just go cold turkey. Look, it's the pattern of my life. I I get to a point and I'm like, well, you're a bit boring and tiresome. And I stop. And then within, well, not a matter of weeks, sometimes it might even be years, I fall in love with a smoker. Don't fall in love with a smoker. And then I start again because, I mean, come on. Lovers and cigarettes go together like a horse and carriage. Isn't that how the song goes? But no, I sort of give my body healing time and then away we go again. Like I didn't smoke for a decade. I didn't smoke at all in my 20s. And then I gave up practicing law and became a comedian and g'day. It was almost essential. No, I'm coughing. Or I'd quit and then I'd move to Vietnam where I could buy a carton for $2.50. And that came with a litre and a half bottle of OP Bundaberg rum. Actually, I think the cartons might have been $5, but $15 would get you a carton of Marlboro Lights menthols, although over there they're called Marlboro Black, and a 1.5 litre bottle of OP rum. I mean, as if I wasn't going to. And I'm going to Singapore in January. And then my best friend my oldest friend, the one who lives in San Diego, she's coming home. And we love sitting out on my deck drinking coffees and smoking. So I'll probably smoke again in January. Look, I don't know. I'm 56 in January as well. I sort of feel that we just go where the wind goes. But because of the cost of ciggies now, like I smoke a brand that's grosser than the brand I used to love. Well, I used to love my other brand. Yeah, alcohol's the killer. In fact, that's what my friend Linda, who works in there, and I were just saying how gross cigarettes are. Now you've got to buy the cheaper brands and the bulk packs, but they don't taste too bad with a glass of wine, is what Linda just said. And I went, yeah, for me it's gin. But I'm educated. I know what I'm doing. I'm a fool. I admit it. But it's part of my charm. I mean, I've got jobs from being in the smoker's pit. Some of my favourite memories involve a cigarette and a sunrise on top of a mountain. Like just Rothmans. My mum's cleaning lady, Ruby, smoked Rothmans. Oh no, she smoked Ascot and Rothmans. And if we were desperate, we'd beg Ruby to let us have one of her cigarettes, and they were disgusting. But then my father smoked Benson and Hedges special filter, which were just like the strongest things imaginable. And the first time my brother and I nicked a cigarette each out of Dad's packet and went to the beach and had our first cigarettes, we got the best head spins. Like, we were actually stoned. And we couldn't walk or stand up for about an hour. We just lay on the sand on the beach, pissing ourselves laughing. And it was like, this shit's great. And of course, we've never had a reaction like that since. But if you do quit, even for a week, even for 48 hours, even 24 hours, and then you have a cigarette again, you still do get the head spins again. I mean, of course, I now know what causes it, but yeah, we thought it was the best thing ever. We were laughing our heads off, and I'd say to him, stand up, and Will would try and stand up, and then he'd fall over, and it was the funniest day. And from that point on, it was always trying to get that moment back, I guess. It never really happened, but in my next life, if I have a next life, who knows? I probably won't even know, but I doubt that I'll smoke, because I'll be born into a society where it's frowned upon. I mean, it's already frowned upon, but I'm in the second half of my life, and I'm like, well, we're the casualties of that glamorous era. Because it was. I mean, holy shit. Our mums smoked when they were pregnant with us. People smoked in TV shows and movies. Doctors used to prescribe cigarettes to people that had depression. This will cheer you up. Go outside and have a cigarette for 5 minutes and stop and smell the flowers, smell the daisies, smell the roses when you can't smell the smoke. These will help calm your nerves, they said. We know how that turned out. You're uneducated? I had a guy at a party a few years ago. I was chatting to him and his wife. His wife was half asleep, so he was sort of the person I was really talking to. She was nodding off. I'm not sure if I bored her or he did, but he kind of lectured me. He's like, you're incredibly intelligent. Why do you do that? And I was like, I'm not as smart as you think I am, mate. Clearly. Or I wouldn't have done this. But yeah, it's just one of those things. And the only time I really enjoy it, outside of if I'm having a little glass of something, and I don't drink much, as you know, I do like the on the way to work with a coffee and on the way home ones a lot. That cough isn't, well, I don't think it's smoking related. I've had a dry cough for about, I don't know, since Friday, since I was at the conference. And it just won't go. I'll keep tailgating. When you've actually stopped to turn in somewhere and someone feels that they have to move, within an inch of your bumper bar, why do they give these young people big, powerful four-wheel drives to drive? They don't know how to social distance, for fuck's sake. Like, what's the thinking behind tailgating? Especially like the car behind me is so big, they can see that there are cars in front of me as well. So why do they think being right up on my ass? What's that going to achieve? Oh, now she's weaving all over the road because she's sucking around with the phone. Awesome. So shit, did the douche canoes go live and take credit for the arrest of Leilani Simon? I still don't know. Maybe none of you know either. That's another reason why I love this channel, this community. We're fucking clueless. We're all like, I don't know. I love it when people are in my chat and they're like, I don't even know who you're talking about. Like, you're awesome. Stick around. There are worse things that I could do than have a cigarette or two. The only person I'm hurting is me. If you all start going on, what about passive smoking? I don't stand right in front of someone and blow smoke in their face. I go out on my deck. If people visit, right, I go out on my deck and I light it, and I get in a spot where the wind's not going to blow the smoke on people. You know, I get in a spot that is the least offensive, even though it's my friggin' home. But for some reason, everyone comes and stands downwind of me or right next to me, and I'm like, I'm trying to social distance and stay away from, like, oh, you at all. What are you doing? Go back to where you were. They're incredible humanimal. And my first thought was, I mean, I kind of just skim read what you wrote, but my first thought was just such a sense of relief. I mean, it sounds like they are going to have to keep searching if they only found partial remains. But my first thought was, thank God those poor people are not still combing through that. What a horrible, horrible job, and how depressing, because you know what you're looking for and you don't want to find it because you know what it is, but you do need to find it. It's just awful. And the fact that they get paid fuck all. But you've got YouTubers going live and earning more in a month than many of those people would earn in a year. That's so sickening, isn't it? You know, you've got YouTubers just being irresponsible with cases. I mean, Kylie Rodney's the one that's obviously jumped into my mind, and Zav Girl's earnings while she was pushing the foul play theory and earning that much money. And at the same time, there are people combing through rubbish looking for the remains of a 20-month-old baby. I mean, who probably don't earn that in a year. And I just felt such a sense of relief that, you know, and his father has lost both of his parents and his son in the space of a month. My heart breaks for him too. Like Quinton's father. I heard I was reading your comment and then I had to slow down. I mean, I'm not going fast anyway, but I heard it was 30 grand. And that wasn't counting AdSense. So 40 was probably, I don't know if he'd make 10 grand in AdSense, but it was an obscene amount of money. Yeah, someone did work it out. Because you can get a lot of information about people's channels. On like Social Blade, and plus experienced YouTubers who've had channels for a long time and have made really good money on there kind of even guesstimate what someone's earning based on what they used to earn as well. Yeah, humanimal. So Quinton's paternal grandparents died within a couple of weeks of each other. His grandmother died first, and I don't know what the story was there. I don't know if she had an illness or whether it was sudden. I don't know. But then her husband, so Quinton's paternal grandfather, got killed in a hit and run not long after the police announced they believed Quinton was dead. And they were looking for his remains. Like, it all happened within 4 weeks. Can you imagine? Two friends, very close friends, who lost both of their parents together, but both of their parents were also terminally ill. Which I'm not saying that that's easier. It's not. It's still a shock. I mean, my parents were terminally ill when they died, and it was still a shock when they died. But for him to have lost his baby because his baby was murdered by his mother, the baby's mother, see, but also to have his father killed in a hit and run, like, they're graphic. Oh, that poor man, like, I'm just going to take us down to the beach for a minute because I want to just chat for a moment since I haven't been able to read much chat. Oh, we've got a bit of a swell down here. Not much fun for surfers or boogie boarders, but pretty good conditions for the kite surfers if they could be brave enough to go out in this. Oh, there are some surfers out there. Braver than me. The water's quite brown still because we've had so much rain again that all the topsoil goes down off all the hills and the bluffs and everything in the area, and this whole bay just gets filled with dirt. Yeah, I know, cement shoes, and I can't imagine. I mean, losing my parents 14 years apart still, or 13 years apart still seemed too close, really. I don't think I'd be right in the head after it either. I mean, that's so much to process. I mean, death on its own is something you have to process, and it's not always easy, but then to have such horrible circumstances as well. The water has been shitful. Today was shitful in town. It was freezing and really windy. Crazy weather. Can't believe it's nearly December and we've had like 3 really hot summery days, and then it's just been El Nino. Good swells though. We love you, cement shoes. You know that you can always talk about this awful year for you in this community. Get nothing but love here. The only silver lining for my friends who lost their parents close together is now that they're a few years down the track, they've both said to me independently of each other that looking back on it, it was insanely difficult at the time. But one of them actually said that she felt a sense of relief that she grieved for them together. It felt right to her. And she sort of said that for her it was she was spiritually content, I think, is the wording she used, because she was able to grieve for them at the same time and then process it. But yeah, I mean, it left her in an absolute state when it happened, that's for sure. But we're talking like close to 10 years ago for her now, so she can see it in a very different way. Like she said, I would have probably recovered from grieving from one, and then at some point, because like when my mum died, we instantly became even more aware of our dad's mortality, and you do live with that and worry about that. But I think you're an only child to Cement Shoes. Yeah, look, I think 2022, I really don't. I mean, yours is one of the worst stories I've heard. I'm not going to lie, Cement Shoes. But I don't know anyone that's had a good 2022. Like, it's been a brutal year. I can't think of anyone in my life who hasn't had a brutal year. I've got friends now fighting terminal illnesses who were fit and healthy at the start of the year. I've got friends who died this year who were fit and healthy at the start of the year. You know what I mean? And I mean, my year hasn't been as bad as many, but I think it's been a really brutal year for a lot of people. There's not many people in my life that are going, what a great year this has been. They're all just like, this year's been fucking brutal. Or just fucked, really. I don't think many of my friends have used the word brutal to describe it. That's my word, but I know, Francesca, and I feel for you too, beautiful, because I can't even imagine losing a sibling. I want to go before my siblings. I don't want to know what it feels like. It just, yeah, the three of us are so close and have been our whole lives, but especially since our parents died, like, the three of us are sort of a little family of our own, I guess, and the thought of having to process losing either of them, I hope I go first. Well, I'm glad you've got your ride or die uncle. The problem with life is that death is part of it, and it just sucks to lose people that are your heart, But they're still there. I think we're all selfishly would love to have them back. I'm sure many of them would like to still be here too. But then I look at my mum and, now we've got voluntary assisted dying. I reckon she would have put a hand up for that rather than having a decade of a fragment of the life she'd had prior to getting sick. Like I saw her having to find joy in all these things because she was essentially housebound and a constant patient, and she probably would have at some point said, yeah, I think I'm done now. Let's get out of here. Scout, Mel, look at the bad girls are rocketing now. Here comes trouble. Well, I wanted to know if they were taking credit because I thought they would be, but because I've been driving, I wasn't able to read chat. I don't know if anyone mentioned. God, I've forgotten it again. Cement Shoes. We play on scarecrows. Tragedy cows. What did you call them? Quality of life is very important. Your dad's definitely watching over him, Deb. Yeah, I assume they did too, but I also love one thing I love about our community is that everyone's like, I don't fucking know. They found some of his remains, Mel, and Leilani Simon's been charged with murder. Arrested and charged with murder. So, but yeah, I just, when the story broke, I was at work and I wasn't able to tune into anyone, even in my lunch break, because I ended up working through my lunch. Yeah, in the landfill. But someone was saying a bit earlier in here that it was only partial remains. So whether they have to keep looking for more. I mean, just those poor, exhausted people. Horrible. Like, what a conflicting job. You know what you have to find, and it's incredibly important that you find it. But you also know when you find it, it's not going to be good. It's just, ugh. And it's painstaking too. Like, they have to be so careful and go through everything so slowly. And it's just horrible. Rest in peace, little man. I hope his partial remains are returned to his father, who's had to bury his parents and now his little baby boy. But you know, the positive, the beauty, in fact, of it is justice for him will happen now. No, it's exactly right, Mel Mel. Exactly right. Decomposition's pretty rapid, and especially in a little tiny body. But yeah, I suspected the douche canoes, whatever. Cement shoes. I promise you, I'll go back through this chat and the one from this morning. I have to anyway because I've got a list of the misunderstood empaths of YouTube. We're going to have so much fun doing that stuff, guys. I hope you're looking forward to it. I'm going to highlight a different misunderstood empath each week or whenever, how often I do the shows. Yeah, because there's another murder. Yeah, plus the heat. There's another murder in the family, isn't there, Humanimal? Oh, yeah, do send me. The last live I did on this channel was this morning, and I was calling for names, but I am kicking it off with Bullhorn Betty because, you know, she is without a doubt the most misunderstood empath on YouTube. We're going to have a ball, guys. Oh, look. Find your love in U City. Oh, was it £1 million? Yeah, I think, does that equate to 32 tons? For some reason, I think, because I was listening to a news caster when I was walking to get a coffee in my 7-minute lunch break, and she did mention the amount, and for some reason I've got like 32 tons. Look, if you're going to come in here, little porn bot, you can at least give me a thumbs up, you motherfucker. In prison for 40 years. She was on YouTube today. £1.4 million. Far out. The grandmother was on YouTube today. Oh no. Where? Who with? What did Oh, the grandmother. You've got to find that I won't be long. In fact, I'll be 5 more minutes. All about her. Well, another misunderstood empath. Oh, see, that's someone I keep hearing being mentioned too. I don't know that person. Queen Bee. Yeah, she got nominated for me to cover Humanimal. I think have you mentioned Cher before? I was saying earlier that someone, well, not this morning, that I hear her name a bit. Quite a few of you guys, I don't know who, mention her from time to time, and she's been nominated for me to cover as a misunderstood empath. So she's clearly bad. Hello, Barry. Those are the seagulls hovering outside my car. I don't have. Hang on. Barry, we've got to talk. I don't have any chips. I don't. I've got pasta, but you're not having any. And I got garlic bread, and you're not having. Yeah, I can see you going nom nom nom. No, I have nothing for you. Where's Shazza? Go and hook up with her, for God's sake. Queen Bee's all right. Okay. Oh, you think the grandmother and her partner? Does Billy Joe have a partner? Yeah, I think there's a lot of culpability for sure. But they've clearly been focused on being able to charge Leilani. And they have. And again, this just goes to show, guys, why investigations can be very slow and painstaking because, as you guys would all know, but, you know, the cops have to be confident that they've got enough evidence to get a conviction because it's a one-shot thing, like one strike and you're out. You know, if you don't get it right the first time, ba-bow. So all these impatients that are on YouTube constantly criticising Ellie, and don't get me wrong, I'm very aware that there's shifty Ellie the world over, but there's also fucking awesome Ellie that get these sorts of results all the time, and being patient is such an important quality if you're into true crime because the hands of justice move slowly. The sands through the hourglass move slowly. Yeah, Bazza. Misunderstood it. Yeah. Although, I mean, look, don't get me wrong, I think that's really tacky as fuck too, but police often do tell families to not get involved in searches and stuff like that. And I don't know the story well enough, that particular one well enough to know what they were told, but it's not unusual for the police to tell families to stay at home. And they get, in a lot of cases on the YouTube fake crime community, there's a lot of comments about people not going out and searching, but I kind of, some days I just feel, don't get me wrong, I think it's disgusting to go out partying if your baby's missing. I mean, Casey Anthony, hello. Leilani and Casey, but it isn't uncommon for cops to tell the family they don't want them involved in the searches, especially if they're watching them as potential offenders. Billy Joe is suffering, but fuck it, I don't care. No, well, there's something about her, isn't there? Something about her. I think there's a lot of stuff going on in that family. It doesn't sound good. The apple does not fall far from the tree. Knew her kid was useless. She wanted to make some money. She needed to take the kids with her or simply not go 3 weeks. She left that useless, selfish shell of a girl alone. Hardly mentioned him at all today. Ugh. Her son was paid to commit a robbery and ended up committing murder at 19. Jesus Christ. Yeah, exactly. It's the lack of any sort of tact, isn't it? It's that tactless behaviour. I mean, you know, look at what Chris Watts was doing right after he'd wiped out his family. Just awful. But you can't have a conscience to snuff out people's lives and kill your own children, and so they don't give a shit, you know. I remember hearing a YouTuber going, well, so what, she's out drinking, she knows she's fucked, she knows she's going to go to jail, it's her last hurrah. And I'm like, stay at home behind closed doors if you want to do that. You don't go out in public. As if all eyes weren't on her, even before the bloody goon show rolled into town. Maybe that's what I'll call them, the goon show. Well, does everyone remember at the start of it, there was the text where Billy Joe said Leilani did it, but she doesn't remember doing it. That sort of, I didn't hear that being discussed. I mean, like I said, I obviously observed the absolute fuckery going on outside their house. I'm well aware of that shit show. But I remember right at the start that there was a text message from Billy Joe saying that Leilani did it and had no recollection of it. Yeah, most people would be too upset. But, bear in mind, there are people, families of missing people that simply go out to do their grocery shopping and bump into somebody they know who gives them a hug, and then they pull away from the hug and give them a thank you kind of smile. And the next thing that's in the papers saying, mother of missing baby caught smiling and laughing, without a care in the world. Like, sometimes people still have to go to work and buy groceries and stuff, even when someone they love is missing. Like, you might get a lot of people flocking around you at the start that help you and do all of that sort of stuff. But at some point, especially if you've got other kids and everything, life has to go on a little bit too. Every time I see BJ, I want to go blowjob. Why is God doing this to me? 2 children murdered. Oh, really? Oh, my God. She is the common denominator. Good point. Yeah, I heard about a new documentary too. Does she give you the, they always go like, there's something about Casey. I'm like, no, she gives me the heebie-jeebies. She's such an entitled little shit, and her parents didn't hold her accountable either. She's charged with malicious murder, intentional. Oh, my God. Death penalty charge. She did something foul with intent to be cruel. Doesn't matter if she didn't mean it. Brilliant. That's a great charge. I need to read up more about that. Yeah, Tay-Tay does all right. It's all about blowjobs. I mean, Billy Joe. They may do have the cause. I don't know. I mean, I've never actually heard of that charge, so I'm kind of fascinated. Fascinated. I'm also fascinated, obviously the Idaho 4. They're starting to have funerals for those poor kids. But I also discussed this morning. There was a shooting at the University of Virginia. 3 students were shot and murdered. And I don't see a lot of that coming up in my notifications list. Is it not sexy enough, or is it because they've got the guy who did it already that nobody, like, why isn't that being covered? It happened in the same week. Yeah, I'm really keen to read up on that charge. It sounds very interesting. Oh, maybe they found a broken bone that proved it. Oh, really? My God, it's all happening. Yes, and there were the 5 shot at the gay nightclub too. They're not getting covered. I don't think it was the first time I heard it with Gabby Petito, but during Gabby Petito, the white girl syndrome? Is that the term that got bandied about how people, Club Q in Colorado Springs. That's exactly what I was getting to. Yep, there's no blondes in that story. 3 African American dudes shot, college students. But yeah, exactly. And this is the issue. I don't know if it's white girl syndrome, but I think that could be the term for it. But yeah, the appeal to cover cases where the victims are pretty and young and white and blonde, or, yeah, pretty little white girls. Snap. Which is awful. It's awful that a crime has to have an element of sexiness to it. And I'm not demeaning the victims, but it has to be sexy in the eyes of consumers, if that makes sense, for people to see value in covering it if they want to make money. Because they quickly learn, if they do cover something that's not popular at the time, which is why so many channels that are dabbling in some case, and then they'll go, oh, I'm not going to cover that case. So it's already been covered to death by everyone else. And suddenly they're covering it because they're like, well, might as well jump on the money train. Minorities are ignored, and it's disgusting. And it's a global issue because, it could be an English backpacker in New Zealand who gets murdered, for example, that suddenly is being covered by everybody. But at the same time, in that same week, fuck knows how many other horrible crimes have occurred. Yeah, it's not just the media. YouTubers do too. The ones that, like the dollars. Good point, Cement. If Kylie been overweight with acne, no one would have cared. And even Trinity, that other girl, who died not long after Kylie, like an hour from Truckee, didn't get the same sort of never-ending. Although I think my mate, the Cunty family, might have covered Trinity for a few days longer than anybody else. But she's gone back to Kylie, I think. RA came forward to a conservation officer the first or second day. I think they should have released the bridge audio, video and audio immediately. The delayment, doubt, gaslight. Yeah, that's such a deep. I know you're very into it too. I'm going to be watching your channel for your coverage on that because you know that inside and out. You go clean Gary's cage out. Let him have a fly. Let him bite you. Have some Mel. I'm going to log off too. I've got to heat up my dinner and feed my floof. Oh, yes. Yeah, no, what is her name? That's a horrible story. Is it? It's more Sean Keller. Is that her name? I've only a friend of mine, Shanna, who pops into my chat from time to time, who's a friend of mine. She put something up on Facebook about it only yesterday, and I had a quick look at it. That's a horrible story. Be careful who your friends are. I'll be keen to see who's covering that one because that poor girl deserves a lot of coverage. Like, that is just such a repugnant story. I just feel for her and her beautiful mum. My God. You're getting dish hands, oh, you poor duck. Yeah, and he was there all along. They have tried with Trinity. Oh, yeah, I heard the LSD thing, like the auntie that she was staying with. Yeah, her friends beat her up. It's horrible. Go feed your floofy boy. You've got a boy, haven't you? Boy dog? Is that right, human animal? Shankella, thank you. Yep, that's a horrible one. And look, this channel is a true crime channel. It might be worth us having chats about all these other cases that are, we're going to be looking at the misunderstood empaths for some laughter, but maybe we should be looking at the forgotten victims too, just so that they're honoured. And a cattle dog, beautiful. Oh, thank you, Scout. Look at Scout go. Go, Scout, go. Such a champion, Scout. I better go and feed your little buddy Sunny Bum, huh? Yeah, she'll be wondering where I am. She'll be tapping on a little paw, going, "Excuse me, what time do you call this?" Don't put yourself down. You've got a unique style, and my God, you're the most beautifully dressed person on YouTube, without a doubt. Don't put yourself down, human animal, at all. And you're very eloquent, far more eloquent than I am. I resort to swear words when I can't think of a nice word to use. But I often am fairly brain dead when I go on YouTube because my job saps all the important words I need for that. But no, you're thorough too, and you're good at pitching questions. You're curious. You might expect it because it's got salmon in it. All right, Groovers, I'm going to log off. Boo-boo. The live I did this morning, there were some great suggestions in chat for some misunderstood empaths for me to cover. But if you can think of any, like Mel, I know she's cleaning Gary's cage now, but feel free to put them in the comments section too, because I will cover all of them. We'll have a lot of fun. And many of them I don't know, so it's going to be fun reacting to them for the first time. And if you've got a particular video or link or something, not link, a particular video of theirs that really highlights how vile they are, you can type the heading of it, like the headline for it, and I'll just find it when I go to their channel. Thanks for popping in, human animal. Go feed your floofy. See you, Francesca. Much love to you, gorgeous. The bowl and I love yay, you, me. Oh, we love you too, Deb. I mean, Sonny and I love you and the bowl. Yep, take care, Groovers. Well said, mate. Thanks for hanging out with me. I think this channel is a bit of fun. People have actually subbed to it. Now I know that you are all over here too. The psychologist who victimized Debbie Collier in her final hour. I don't know that. I know what they've found with her, that it was a suicide. I didn't really follow Debbie Collier. I keep trying to find something happening in Australia to cover too, but it's just all quiet on the Western Front. So happy you caught us, Lindy Lou. Peace, love, and light to all. And love to Sunny. But remember, Groovers, don't get struck by a smooth criminal. See you very soon.